spoke about employment, or rather unemployment figures which are there. How bankable they are? Because many people say that we don't have enough data. What are the benchmarks on which you arrive at the figures? So has NITI Aayog really worked on this bit, and what is the kind of benchmark you're taking?
Before I took over, my predecessor chaired a task force, which was exactly on this issue of employment data. So that in our country is unfortunately so far generated only once in 5 years. And the member of the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation must be. Their head was also a member of this committee, etc. And they have finally recommended, and that's been accepted by the government, that we will now henceforth do an annual data release based on household surveys. And those surveys have already started. And in this September onwards, you will get quarterly data based on extensive household surveys on employment. So that's one part of it, and that's coming up. The second thing that we're trying to do is that, those are household surveys. But in the US, they have a household survey, but also they have a payroll survey, where employers are asked as to how many people have you employed or let go, or whatever in the last quarter. We are starting that also, and we will collect this data. So we'll have, therefore, from now on, NITI Aayog will produce data on employment from both the directions.
And this is going to be annually?
Well, quarterly.
Quarterly.
And we will use what are called the high frequency data. For example, when you ask the employers like Ola and Uber, and Flipkart and Amazon, all of these organizations that I've mentioned to you are not included in the employment statistics.
So according to what you're saying, the figures or the unemployment scenario, if I could say, is not as scary as it has been made out to be.
Not at all. I actually must commend to you the recent report produced by Ghosh and Ghosh, Soumyakanti Ghosh of the Chief Economist of State Bank of India, and Pulak Ghosh of the IIM Bangalore, a professor, who have looked at data from EPFO, Employment Provident Fund Organization, and they've really cleaned up the data and worked very hard at it. And I've actually read the report myself and the methodology, and they, for example, come up with the fact that in last year, 16-17, this economy generated 55 lakh jobs in the formal sector.
So anecdotally,
it's not, a couple of people, as you would expect, Jairam, Ramesh included, have criticized that report recently in an article in Hindu. And these two authors have actually now rebutted those criticisms. So we are very sure, that those data that they have collected are very genuine, and they've used a conservative estimate for coming up with this data. This is what NITI Aayog will continue to do in the future. To use agencies like EPFO, the Employment Insurance, ESIC, State Insurance Corporation, the National Pension Commission, all the other organizations like Ola and Uber, etc., to collect that data.
So anecdotally, what we've seen that the jobs were getting lost, so which means there's nothing to worry. There won't be any job losses as it has been made out to be.
No, in some industries there have been job losses. And this is the process that goes on all the time. You're probably far too young, but Rajiv Gandhi, when he introduced the computers in this country, there's a big hullabaloo that, look, now no more jobs, no more employment in banks. And some banks did lose jobs because, computers replaced, manual tellers. But jobs get created in other places. For example, in our case now, there have been some job losses in industries where automation has taken place. And therefore, and that's acceptable. But at the same time, a large number of jobs have been created in logistics, in logistics, in software, in systems integration, in companies like, we're dealing with e-commerce, which is also very new. So the economy keeps changing. And it is the role of our organizational NITI Aayog to keep tracking that change and not get caught in an old, outdated system. And just saying that we will only collect that data and not anything else. So that's the situation. So yes, you cannot deny that there have been job losses. Some of the engineering companies have automated their functions, but others have come up.